in the morning.
Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the most thrilling and exclusive updates from the heart of Genoa City. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the scandalous lives of our favorite residents, as the drama reaches an absolute boiling point. Grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us unpack the explosive events that are about to change everything for the Newman dynasty. A horrifying spectacle has just been exposed, shaking Genoa City's elite society and leaving the Newman family in profound shock. The glittering facade of perfection has been shattered in seconds by an unprecedented public meltdown. Sienna, who had seemingly captured the fiercely guarded heart of Noah Newman, has crossed a line from which there is no return. In a world where appearances are the ultimate currency, Sienna's explosive loss of control has humiliated her and laid bare the terrifying fragility of her mental state. The audience is left gasping as the illusion of a stable relationship is violently torn apart, replaced by a dark reality filled with jealousy, manipulation, and betrayal. The architect of this devastating ruin is Audra Charles, a woman whose ruthless corporate strategies are matched by her venomous personal vendettas. Audra has never accepted defeat, especially regarding Noah Newman, a man she shares a deeply complex history with from their days in London. Recognizing the insecurities simmering beneath Sienna's tough exterior, Audra launched a calculated psychological warfare designed to completely destabilize her rival. With the precision of an assassin, Audra dropped subtle, poisonous hints whenever Sienna was near. She weaponized her shared past with Noah, casually mentioning inside jokes and the magnetic pull that draws them back together. Audra's goal was never a direct confrontation, it was the slow erosion of Sienna's sanity. To understand Sienna's catastrophic unraveling, one must delve into the dark, traumatic abyss of her past. Sienna is not a product of Genoa City's country clubs, she is a survivor of the unforgiving Las Vegas underworld. She carries the heavy baggage of a life defined by violence, the tragic overdose of her brother, and the lingering shadow of Matt Clark. The transition to the opulent, hyper-judgmental sphere of the Newman family was a monumental challenge. Sienna has been walking a psychological tightrope, desperately trying to prove her worth to a family that views outsiders with suspicion. Audra's relentless provocations acted as a sledgehammer against the fragile glass of Sienna's self-esteem, exploiting every hidden fear. The stage for this horrifying confrontation was set at a highly anticipated, lavish Newman family event, designed to project unity and unassailable power. The venue was dripping with elegance, bathed in the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, with champagne flowing freely among the city's elite. It was an environment demanding absolute emotional regulation, making it the worst possible place for a psychological breakdown. For Sienna, the glittering ballroom felt less like a celebration and more like an interrogation room, where every whisper felt like a critique. The immense pressure to perform, to smile, and to seamlessly blend into the Newman dynasty was a crushing weight on her chest, creating a powder keg of anxiety waiting for a spark. That spark was ruthlessly provided by Audra Charles, who cornered Sienna near the grand staircase, her eyes gleaming with predatory triumph. Audra's voice was smooth as silk, yet every word was laced with lethal intent as she delivered her final blow. She leaned in close, whispering a barrage of veiled insults disguised as sympathetic advice. Audra questioned Sienna's ability to ever truly understand Noah, highlighting the vast chasm between their upbringings and the inevitable exhaustion Noah would feel from constantly having to save her. She painted an agonizing picture of Noah eventually realizing that Sienna was too broken and volatile for the Newman standard. The psychological manipulation struck the exact chords of Sienna's deepest fears. Inside Sienna's mind, a terrifying storm of jealousy, inadequacy, and blinding rage erupted, obliterating any remaining semblance of self-control. The opulent surroundings blurred into a chaotic smear of colors, leaving only the smug, triumphant face of Audra Charles in sharp focus. The relentless pressure of trying to be perfect, the agonizing fear of losing Noah, and the sheer venom of Audra's provocations collided in a catastrophic mental explosion. Sienna felt her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped animal, her breathing turning shallow and erratic as the toxic cocktail of emotions hijacked her nervous system. In that horrifying moment, the rational woman vanished, replaced by a desperate creature lashing out at the source of her pain. The confrontation that followed was nothing short of a public execution of Sienna's reputation. Unable to contain the boiling magma of her jealousy, Sienna's voice sliced through the elegant murmur of the ballroom, rising to a hysterical pitch that instantly froze the room. The polite string quartet faded into non-existence as Sienna launched into a fierce, unhinged verbal assault against Audra, her words dripping with raw and filtered fury. She accused Audra of trying to steal Noah, of manipulating the family, and of being a venomous snake hiding behind designer labels. The sheer volume and intensity of Sienna's outburst commanded the horrified attention of every guest, transforming the private dispute into a grotesque public spectacle. But the verbal barrage was merely the prelude to the horrifying climax of the altercation. Blinded by her rage and driven by an impulsive, destructive instinct, Sienna committed an act that would forever alter her trajectory in Genoa City. With a swift, erratic motion, she grabbed a crystal glass filled with a vibrantly colored cocktail from a passing waiter's tray and hurled its contents directly into Audra's face. The gasp that echoed through the ballroom was collective and deafening. The sticky, dark liquid splashed across Audra's flawless makeup and ruined her expensive gown, dripping down her chin in a humiliating display. The physical attack elevated the situation from a mere argument to an appalling display of violence, cementing Sienna's downfall. Standing only a few feet away, witnessing the entire catastrophic event unfold, was Noah Newman. The expression on his face was a devastating portrait of profound disappointment, shock, and utter disbelief. Noah, who had fiercely defended Sienna against the skepticism of his family, who had looked past her dark history and seen a woman worthy of his love, now stood paralyzed as he watched her transform into someone completely unrecognizable. The idealized image he had carefully constructed of their future together shattered into a million irreparable pieces right before his eyes. The sheer volatility of Sienna's actions struck a terrifying chord within him, forcing him to confront the agonizing possibility that his family's warnings were justified. The reaction of the Newman family was swift, silent, and absolutely chilling. Victor Newman, a formidable patriarch, observed the chaos with eyes as cold and unforgiving as steel, his jaw set in a tight line of absolute disapproval. Nikki, Victoria, and Nick stood nearby, their expressions a unified mask of horror and judgment. In their eyes, Sienna had just confirmed their worst fears. She was unstable, unpredictable, and a massive liability to the Newman name. The family that demands absolute loyalty and flawless public decorum had just witnessed a display of chaotic, gutter-level drama at their own event. The silent verdict passed by the Newmans in that moment was palpable and devastating. Sienna had proven herself to be fundamentally incompatible. In the agonizing aftermath of the spilled drink and the echoing gasps, Noah's mind raced with terrifying questions about Sienna's emotional stability. He has always harbored a tragic savior complex, a desperate need to fix broken women, but the sheer violence of Sienna's jealousy forced him to ask if she was simply too broken to be saved. The ghosts of his past heartbreaks, the betrayals, and the instability he had endured in previous relationships came rushing back to haunt him. Could he truly build a life, a family, and a business like the Shadow Room with a woman who could snap so violently under pressure? Noah found himself staring at Sienna not with the warmth of a lover, but with the cautious, fearful apprehension of a man assessing a threat. Meanwhile, Audra Charles delivered a masterclass in manipulation, playing the role of the innocent, victimized party to absolute perfection. Wiping the sticky cocktail from her face with a trembling hand, she looked around the room with wide, shocked eyes, silently absorbing the sympathy of the onlookers. Internally, however, a triumphant, wicked smirk danced across her soul. Her plan had been executed flawlessly. She had successfully drawn out the monster hiding within Sienna, exposing her volatility for Noah and the entire Newman family to see. Audra didn't need to shout or fight back. She simply let Sienna's own insecurities do the destructive work for her, positioning herself as the rational, stable alternative to Sienna's chaotic mess. As the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by a cold, sickening wave of realization, Sienna looked around the opulent room and saw the horrifying magnitude of her mistake. The faces staring back at her were not filled with understanding, but with disgust, pity, and condemnation. She had played right into Audra's hands, sacrificing her dignity and her relationship on the altar of her own blinding jealousy. The isolation she felt in that crowded ballroom was absolute and suffocating. Her future with Noel, which had once seemed so bright and full of promise, now hung by the thinnest, most precarious of threads. The Newman family's invisible walls had slammed shut against her, and the path to redemption seemed impossibly steep and fraught with perilous twists. The fallout from this horrifying public spectacle will send shockwaves through Genoa City for weeks to come. It is impossible for the audience to predict what will happen next as the dust settles on this catastrophic confrontation. Will Newman find it in his heart to forgive a woman whose emotional instability has just humiliated his entire family? Or is this the definitive, tragic end of their romance? Will Sienna succumb entirely to the darkness of her past, or will she find a way to fight back against Audra's ruthless machinations with a brilliant, unpredictable counterattack? The chessboard has been violently overturned, the pieces scattered, and the battle for Noah's heart and the Newman legacy has just entered its most vicious chapter yet.